Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Off the Backboard podcast, hosted by myself, Gibson Lowenberg, and my co-host here, Caleb Crowley.
We're taking a look at a lot of the kind of current trade rumors throughout the NBA. A lot of big stars seem to be on the move, some bigger names than others. We're seeing some really negative trade value for the first time, which is probably coming about by the new CBA, the second apron, and just how expensive NBA players are now. I mean, I think not even 10 years ago we saw how you could kind of just spend whatever money you wanted. You'd pay a luxury tax. Who cares? Move on, Kevin Durant going to the Warriors and money just exploding throughout the NBA. And now this new second apron is making guys like Trae Young really expensive. So if you want to go through all of that, kind of looking at those trades like we had discussed, I'm happy to.
And the obvious one, I think, for everybody is Giannis. Let's just get that one out of the way. There's a ton of teams that are interested in him. I've seen the Spurs are interested in pursuing him heavily. I've seen Knicks thrown in there. I've seen the Warriors thrown in as a possibility. What are your thoughts on where Giannis will go?
So I think realistically, in all honesty, I think there are 30 teams, maybe 31, interested in Giannis. The Bucks want to keep him. Every other team wants him, and I'm sure the soon-to-be Las Vegas expansion team also wants Giannis. The team LeBron wants to own, he's going to target Giannis. He doesn't care how old he'll be. Everyone wants Giannis, okay? They'll cryogenically freeze him like LeBron does if they have to. So, the hard thing is, where does he fit? He's not a plug-and-play star. He's not a shooter. We've seen the best version of him being next to prime Brook Lopez, who is shooting 3 after 3 and making them. Realistically, the best kind of center you can put next to him is the one he has now, is Miles Turner. Good shot blocker, young, he's athletic still, he's a great shooter. You can't put Giannis next to like a Jakob Poeltl and expect it to work well. Jakob's a great defender, great player, but he's not shooting three-pointers like you need, and I don't think Giannis could be your starting center either. I think he needs to be that 4 because that lets him go up against easier targets on defense for himself. So it's hard. I don't know. I know Miami definitely will have interest. I think there's a world where he works well with Bam because Bam can at least sort of shoot a 3. The Knicks obviously will have interest if you can keep Karl Anthony Towns and put him next to Giannis. We saw Cat be a really good defender next to Gobert in Minnesota. I don't think it'd be the same kind of defensive situation with Giannis and Cat, but I think there's a chance there. Spurs, obviously, Wemby can shoot the 3. He's young. He's a great defender. I think if he goes to the Spurs and they don't give up too much to get him, the only chance for the rest of the league, other than OKC, is praying for an injury to one of them. And both of them have had injuries in the recent years, so that's a real possibility. But I just don't see a world where either of them, like that duo, is not ridiculously dominant for the next 5 years if they're healthy.
Yeah, and I could see it being one of those Shaquille O'Neal situations where Shaq's where there's a clear split happening between him and the Lakers go ask Miami for Dwayne Wade. And Miami stuck to their guns. They're like, no, we're sticking with Dwayne Wade. We're not giving you that. And they didn't get a better offer than what Miami had, even without giving up Wade. And it led to them winning a championship 2 years later. I could see that being a situation with San Antonio where they build a package around De'Aaron Fox, Devin Vassell, probably even Jeremy Sohan in there. You combine those 3 plus 5 unprotected firsts. Who can offer better other than OKC?
Yeah, financially, I think the Bucks would have to include more than Giannis for Vassell, Fox, and Sohan. But that's a really good starting point. The 5 firsts in itself is a great starting point.
Yeah.
So I think,
and then you can include swaps in there too. They've got all they own all of their picks except for I think 2 that they gave up to the Kings. They have all of their second round picks, so they have the draft capital to just go and do it if they want to. Because the other interested teams, the other teams that can afford him with the player talent, don't have the draft capital.
I think that's the tough thing for a team like the Knicks. They gave up, what was it? It was 5 firsts for Mikal Bridges. And now you'd be saying we can give you, OG Anunoby and Josh Hart for Giannis, but they don't really have many picks to include. And they don't have like a young upcoming star that they could say, hey, take a chance on this guy. I could see this being like a Cavaliers Donovan Mitchell situation. Obviously, I'm a Cavs guy, but I think there's a little bit of parallel in the fact that we're looking at the Spurs, we're looking at the Knicks. Those are the two top teams that are calling about him. But the Cavs were kind of that dark horse that suddenly gave, that last piece, that last draft pick that the Jazz wanted and got Mitchell. There could be another team willing to do that. I don't know necessarily who. It could be the Heat. They don't have tons of draft capital. They also can't offer Terry Rozier in a trade right now because of everything with him. I could see a world where maybe it's the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah.
I don't know necessarily what they'd offer, but they have picks. The Orlando Magic might have a chance.
They gave up 4 picks for Desmond Bane, though, so I don't know. They would have to. I think that would be a difficult one for them to swing, and I don't know if he would fit next to either one of their stars. And they would have to give up one of Franz and Paolo, and I think they should trade one of those two, but I don't know if Giannis is the guy to move them for.
I do think Orlando, though, it's hard to say no. If Milwaukee said give us Paolo for Giannis and like throw in Wendell Carter or Jonathan Isaac and like 2 or 3 picks, Orlando's making the trade. They can trade Franz later. Who gives a damn? Trade Franz, get Giannis, figure it out from there.
Yeah. One sleeper team I think might be interesting to keep an eye on would be Golden State, where they have young talent to give up.
Kuminga.
With Kuminga, who when he's played and they've allowed him to play his game, he looks like he could be a star, but he's does not fit in Golden State's system, doesn't fit next to Curry and Green. There's clearly a divorce happening here within the next season or two. And Golden State has their draft capital, and they have potentially a disgruntled star coming up in Jimmy Butler to give up. Maybe not the guy to move. Maybe move Draymond instead. But they could be a team to keep an eye on there with Kuminga and Moody and Podziemski, where all 3 of them are movable for Giannis, and obviously it's because it's Giannis, and they're young talent, and they have the draft capital to do it, but it would require nobody else being interested, and Giannis being like, yeah, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah. There's obviously always the discussion about the Lakers. I think if Giannis didn't request a trade right now, and he waited until this summer, the Lakers are on board. They might even tell LeBron to move on. They might say, hey, sorry, we're not signing you to another contract. Go back to Cleveland, have your homecoming tour. We're trading for Giannis. And then, they package Hachimura, Vanderbilt, Vincent, whatever you have to. The only thing is they don't really have draft capital. But as much as people say there's the Lakers tax on a lot of trades, I think that only counts for role players. Because the Lakers just got Luka. If Luka can go for the package the Lakers gave up, Giannis can get to the Lakers for the same. I'm not saying I want him to go to the Lakers. I'm just saying I think it always feels like the Lakers have a chance, especially with stars. Stars want to play in LA. They definitely don't want to play for the Clippers unless they're Kawhi Leonard and they're getting lots of extra money from trees that no one actually planted. But allegedly, but I don't know. I don't even know if Giannis is going to request a trade. He's done this before.
Yeah.
This whole merry-go-round of, I'm just not happy, guys. Can you get me someone? And every time the Bucks have conceded. They got him Drew Holiday the first time. That won a championship. He says, I'm not happy. Then they go get Damian Lillard. This time, Dame doesn't work. So they say, okay, pivot off Dame and go get Miles Turner. But Miles Turner effectively, because of the wave and stretch and the contract Turner got, cost the same as Damian Lillard. So they're kind of out of cards to play. They don't have anything else to trade.
No.
So either Giannis lives with it and says, I got a ring, I've got my legacy, I'm, the greatest Bucks player ever since Abdul-Jabbar, I'm going to rock with it. Or he finally says, I want out. I don't know if he will, because it seems like he just keeps refusing to. He's doing exactly what Damian Lillard did in Portland, where the team's not going to get better around you. You should leave, but you're going to wait too long, and then you won't get to where you need to go.
Yeah. I think Giannis will get moved, but I don't think it's going to be at the deadline unless San Antonio budges from their Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle and gives one of them up, I don't think he's going anywhere until the offseason. And I think in the offseason, he'll have a lot more interest because that LeBron contract will be up, so the Lakers will be able to throw something in. I think there will be a little bit more. I think there will be more teams with the ability to pull three-way deals and pull together moves to get Giannis. And I think the Bucks should wait until the offseason to move him, and I think teams interested in him should also, because making that kind of move in the middle of the year is going to leave your roster with gaps. Unless the Spurs are able to keep both Harper and Castle, then obviously they'd still be fantastic. But by and large, most teams are not going to be able to move for Giannis and still have the ability to be good this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, the problem the Bucks face is, can you get a large enough return for Giannis without, crippling the other team? Meanwhile, we look at a very crippled team that I kind of alluded to about the Lakers, and we have Anthony Davis, who seems like the Mavericks are saying, can you give us some cap relief and a bag of chips? He's yours. I mean, I read a report that it's kind of at a point where they're willing to listen. I think he has a little bit more trade capital than a bag of chips, obviously. And later on, we'll get to the guy who actually, his team is just saying any acceptable trade. First one that's acceptable, we'll take it. We're fine. But for Anthony Davis, it is still hard. He's a negative asset at this point. He's, 32? He's older than Giannis.
Yeah.
More injury prone than Giannis. Less successful than Giannis. He's got the same amount of rings, but he's not MVP, DPOY, and Finals MVP. But they still make about the same amount of money.
Yeah.
That's the tough one, where he goes. If he goes.
I've seen Chicago is interested in him. I've seen a couple teams where I think it's mostly fans throwing their hats in the ring. But ultimately, I think there's only really two teams that might show interest. And that would be, again, Golden State, where they desperately need something to keep them alive, and then Chicago would be the other team I'd see interested, because I've seen quotes from their GM, their ownership group, where they're comparing Josh Giddey to Tyrese Halliburton, and they think they're close to having a finals ready roster, which debatable. They
have a good core. They have a much better team than I was expecting this year.
Yeah, but in my opinion, they only have two guys right now, which are good, really good, and those are Matas Buzelis and Josh Giddey. Once you get past those two guys, you don't have a playoff roster in the slightest.
Yeah. And speaking from experience as a Cavs fan, if your starting small forward is Isaac Okoro, you're done. Season's over. Yeah. Don't compete for a championship. It's over. No hate on Okoro. Just hate on Okoro's skill set. But, or lack thereof. But yeah, no, he's just, you can't build a team with what Chicago has right now. They need more. No. Now is not the time to make the all-in swing.
Yeah, they need two or three more. They need two or three more big, high-end starting caliber players, borderline stars, or one more borderline star, and then they can make that type of move, in my opinion. But they're just not there yet, and it would be a mistake on their part to move the draft capital required to get a player like Anthony Davis in this situation.
I understand the idea of it's his hometown. He's expressed interest in playing there before. If the Bulls could get him for just like Vucevic and, some other mid-sized contracts, maybe it's Kobe White instead of draft capital. Maybe you throw in Patrick Williams, and the Mavericks also include another young guy. Like, I think they have, Cam Christie right now. Maybe do a little bit of a swap there. I could see it. If the Bulls did not have to give up more than one first-round pick, I don't see the problem. Anthony Davis is old. He's expensive, but so is Vucevic. And Davis is still better. Davis is still better than Vucevic. Maybe you really get lucky and it just works out perfectly and something goes right. Why not? Or he just gets to finish his last few years in the league with his home team like he's wanted, and you move on. I mean, you're the Bulls. You are probably 5 years away from actually competing for a title right now. Anyway, maybe somehow AD changes that, because we have seen AD be second best, arguably tied for first best player on a championship team. That bubble team, he looked great.
Yeah.
That's 5 years ago.
Yeah, my only concern would be you're pushing you're moving your window forward, and completely removing your ability to get or they'd be crippling their ability to put assets around them and put quality players
Absolutely.
around that main trio, and while also trading away your two best role players aside from your current big three.
Yeah,
So
taking a look right now, Davis has only played 19 games as a Maverick, but in those 19 games, the 10 this season at least, 19.6 points, 1.5 blocks, 10 rebounds. Like, this is still a double-double guy. Like, we're all down on Davis. But, small sample size, only 10 games. We're still only 20-some through the season. I do kind of see what Chicago's looking at. I see why they're interested. He's on the cheap right now. I mean, if you want to go get a star player, the Bulls, I'm sure, would love to get Giannis. I'm sure they'd love to call and say, hey, here's Vucevic and Williams and White and picks for Giannis. It's not happening. He's not going there. But if you could go and get Davis, who's maybe 2 tiers below Giannis, but is still a damn good player, and he's not going to cost you the draft capital, you could do worse. I mean, looking at the trade market right now, Davis, unironically, probably is the second most valuable player who's on the trade market.
yeah, as of right now.
Yeah, things could change. I mean, suddenly, like, I don't know, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero joins the trade market. Things are going great in Miami. I doubt it, but, I'm just thinking, who are some other great players who aren't on the trade market? Devin Booker suddenly says, I want out of Phoenix. Yeah, sure. But right now, Davis is the second best player on the trade market, and the cost to get him is way lower than it is to get Giannis. So why not? If you're Chicago, why not?
Yeah. Like I said, my concern would be they'd be too good for their own draft picks.
Yes.
And it would just put them back into purgatory, which seems to be where they like being anyway. So
Yeah.
that works. But
It used to be Chicago and Indiana were always in NBA purgatory. But then Indiana said, nah, we're good. We got Halliburton. We're going to go to the finals at least once. So Indiana did it. I don't know if Chicago will. But
yeah,
maybe Giddey is their Halliburton. Giddey's good. He's a lot better than I was expecting, but I don't know.
I don't know if he's Halliburton.
No one thought Halliburton was Halliburton, though, before he became Halliburton.
Fair.
So we'll see. The Kings certainly didn't. We're talking about a team in purgatory. I don't know if they're in purgatory. I think they're in Dante's comedy right now, and they're still in book one in the Inferno, trying to figure out how to, they haven't even found their poetic guide yet to get them to purgatory.
Yeah,
they're just stuck.
Yeah, the Kings have managed to put themselves into the same situation as the Clippers, where there's nothing. They've got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even have their guys on the list, but we do have Kings.
We do.
On the
We
list.
have the Kings as a group.
Yeah, because I mean, everyone there except Keegan Murray is pretty much available for trade, but I don't know if a single.
I believe it was Keegan
them.
Murray and Nick Clifford. Everybody but those two are available for trade right now.
Yeah, and Sabonis, great player, too expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Kings are better off just trying to get back to purgatory and out of the Inferno, and then figure it out from there. Because what they have now, I don't.
Yeah, the issue is the three guys, their three best players, which are the players you want to get all the picks and all the young players out of. They're not worth anything on the trade market. Zach LaVine's too injury prone and too inconsistent. DeMar DeRozan's old, and Domantas Sabonis, he's a great rebounder. He's a great passer for his position. He doesn't have the jump shot to really leverage his best skills.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got
and he's a horrible defender, one of the worst defending bigs in the NBA.
You have a limited cap on what you can do as a team with all three of those players because their strengths and weaknesses don't apply to winning championships.
And they don't cover each other's weaknesses at all.
And they're all three are good enough that you have to pay them.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd have to build a roster from 2 to 15 specifically designed around covering up their weaknesses.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell me DeRozan was traded to the Lakers or the Knicks or one of these fringe borderline. Knicks aren't really a borderline contender anymore. They're pretty high up there at this point. But DeRozan is a plug and play player who could go to another team who's contending and fit. He could really help. He's the only one. I think Sabonis really needs a team tailored to him.
Yeah.
I think Zach LaVine. I think the Kings are the ceiling of a Zach LaVine team.
Yeah, because he's too expensive. he's too good to not pay, but he's not quite good enough to elevate your team because he's a limited playmaker. His defense is abysmal. And he's inconsistent as a scorer at best. And so he's Karis LeVert on steroids.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, honestly. Never heard that before, but it works.
Yeah, and that's no disrespect to Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine's a great player. He was one of my favorite players there for a few years. He's really fun. But the problem is his specific weaknesses are also what leads to winning, typically, for most teams.
Yeah. I think we're also seeing a world in the NBA where we say he's too good not to pay. The Bulls took about 3 years to be able to trade him. I don't know if he is too good to pay anymore. I think this is his last big contract. He might start looking at a 25 to 30 million next year at the best, and he'd still be expected to be as good as he is now for that. I think this new CBA is really what's changed the dynamic around Zach LaVine and Sabonis. I think you put Sabonis on the trade market 3 years ago, right? Even if he was still the same age, right? Like you just
he got
shift the CBA 3 years ago. Yeah, you got Halliburton from him. I mean, he's a great player. You put a great defender next to him. We talked about Giannis and Wemby. I think you put Sabonis next to Wemby, he's thriving. You put Sabonis next to like a Chet Holmgren, thriving. Put him next to Evan Mobley, thriving. But they've never you don't even need it to be another star. I mean, take
Miles Turner.
Isaiah Hartenstein, Miles Turner. Put one of those guys next to Sabonis. He's great. Put Jared Allen next to Sabonis. He can look great. Put Mitchell Robinson. Like, they've just never put a great defensive player in the front court next to Sabonis. He's a great player, but they've never done it. And that's why part of me wonders, is it better to trade Sabonis for future pieces? Or do you try to trade DeRozan or LaVine to finally get some actual defense around Sabonis?
Yeah. The problem with that would be, like, if you do move for a defensive-minded center, if you're the Kings, what do you do with Keegan Murray then? Because Keegan Murray is really your future building block, and the problem is he's too slow at the NBA level to really move over to that 3 spot.
He's also plateaued since year 1 and 2.
A little bit, yeah. But I wonder how much of that is just due to the players, or like
the clunky team,
the situation around him. Because although he was a 2-year college player, right? So there's limited room for growth there, but still room for growth. And I wonder how much of his ability on a basketball court is hindered by the situation around him, where he's kind of giving up the ball a lot to Sabonis and Fox. They move Fox, bring in DeRozan and LaVine. It's a worse situation for him then. So I wonder if he's given the keys to be the number 1 guy on a team, what he'll look like. Because we've seen him as, I believe he was a 3rd option on that Beam team, right? We've seen him be great in the 3rd option. I wonder if he's got that ability to be Michael Porter Jr., because in college he was more of a put the ball on the ground, make my own shot guy. And he's got the size for it too. He's big, he's strong.
He's 6'8". He's
6'8". He's sturdy. So he's got the size to play some bully ball too. So I wonder if they give him the keys to be that main guy, if he can take that Michael Porter Jr. leap where he's going from the 3rd option on a playoff team to now I'm the guy, and all of a sudden he's putting up 25 and 5.
Yeah. I wonder why they've never considered letting him be the number 1 at that point. I tend to believe that if a team's not willing to let a player be a number 1 in any way, that there's probably a reason. But it is the Kings. Maybe I should take that into account more.
And then also on top of that, you've got DeRozan, LaVine, Sabonis, who have all proven that they're still there. So sometimes it's just having the opportunity and taking it.
Yeah, the Kings, no matter what, they should probably go into rebuild. If you're not keeping Sabonis, go into rebuild. If you keep Sabonis, try one time building around him. They've never done it. And it might require trading Keegan Murray, but I don't think the Kings care. They traded Halliburton. They barely seem to care that he's gone on to be so great. I don't know. I mean, the Kings, they should have just gone to Seattle when they had the chance and gotten a new ownership group, in my opinion. I don't know what's going on with them.
They're in a really rough spot. And they traded. Didn't they trade picks to get Sabonis and Sabonis
so,
as
yes.
well? They traded away a lot of their picks, so they're just kind of in a rough spot, but not as rough as what we're seeing in New Orleans, though.
No. Oh gosh, we talk about a team that needed to relocate. The Pelicans might. Like, that is the rumor right now. Is that it might not be expansion right away. It might just be ditch New Orleans and ditch Memphis, and we'll get into Ja. But, yeah, Zion. I don't know. That's the one I was saying. The report I saw was the first acceptable offer.
Yeah, first acceptable offer. That was the exact phrasing. And I saw that. I'm like, I think I sent that to you, too.
Yeah, I think you did.
I was like, oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Because then I asked you, do you want him on your Wizards?
No.
It was the quickest no I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I've seen Chicago potentially interested again because it's Chicago. But that's one where, like, you swing for it, and if it works out, you've got an all-star. You've got an all-NBA. You've got an MVP candidate if it works out. But the problem is there's no reason whatsoever to think that it would. Because I think his career high games played is 63. And that's a one-time thing.
And he's
the rest of
still
them are
not appeared in the playoffs.
Yeah, he last year, or was it 2 years ago? It was when they were in the play-in. He was having best game of his career in the play-in tournament. They were gonna win. I thought we were about to see that moment from Zion where he ascends to be that guy. And it was gonna be like the turning point in his career, and he was gonna be great. And then at the very end of the game, he gets hurt. And the game was over too, which makes it that much worse. And they went on to get swept in the first round by OKC. But
I think the question with Zion is what kind of team wants him? What kind of team would want Zion?
I would think it has to be a really desperate team looking to turn things around as soon as possible. But
that's why I have a pitch for you. His hometown Charlotte Hornets. I've seen them I've read that they're interested. They're the only team I can think of that makes sense. You know,
LaMelo
probably don't want to trade LaMelo. They've said, LaMelo's not happy there, but LaMelo wants to win. LaMelo doesn't have great trade value. You have Brandon Miller, who could be a star any day now. You have draft capital. They don't really make trades.
He's on the court.
Yes, yeah. They don't really make many trades, so they've got their draft capital. They have plenty of contracts to combine. In a perfect world, you have 3 injury-prone stars of LaMelo, Brandon Miller, and Zion.
Hey, Con Kneppel has been fantastic as well.
Yeah. So does it just take that one perfect storm where Miller, Zion, and LaMelo are all healthy enough? None of them. Miller plays defense, but then your other two don't play a lick of it. Yeah. So I don't know.
And you still kind of have that issue where you've got a lot of guys on that roster who I think they're more interested in going out and getting their own than they are in actually winning. And I think having that combination of players, you'd end up with 2 of those guys.
Yeah.
And LaMelo Ball and Zion. I think LaMelo, he's an extremely talented player. I think sometimes he gets into these little ruts where he's more interested in looking cool, putting up the highlight play, than just winning the freaking game.
Yeah, I read that executives see LaMelo as the most valuable of this, not love triangle. It's quite the opposite of LaMelo, Trey, and Ja right now. I've read that he's seen as the most valuable, but he just doesn't care. It's nothing about his on court he has all the skills, and in fact, he has been a good defender here and there in his career. It's just he doesn't seem to care. My question is does he not care because he just wants the money? Or is it because he's never been in a winning situation? And no matter what he's done, it hasn't.
Well, the way I've seen it, or the way I'm looking at it, is since he was a freshman in high school, maybe a sophomore once his brother graduated, since he was a sophomore in high school, everybody in his life's like, yeah, you're the guy. You are the star. Right? He put up that 92-point game in Chino Hills. Right? He went to play in Lithuania. He went and played in the NBL. Right?
Yeah.
And he's gotten all this, you're the guy. Nobody else is as good as you. Nobody else is even close. He gets to Charlotte. Same thing through his first 4 or 5 years. probably until Brandon Miller and Charles Lee get there, and then they're like, yeah, we want to play it more as a team.
Yep.
They're having some issues there with LaMelo fitting in with everybody else, and you've got now Con Knippel who's coming in. He's been arguably better than LaMelo this season. He's definitely been more efficient. He's been the better defender. Playmaking, nowhere near LaMelo's level, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But really, that's the only thing that he's been objectively worse than LaMelo at, because LaMelo's efficiency is horrible. Right? Yeah, he's putting up more points per game.
He's taking AAU shots still.
Yeah, he takes a ton of shots. And that's, I think, going to be something that if you're going to trade for LaMelo, you're going to have somebody get rid of that mindset. But he's been in the NBA this is going to be his 5th season. Mm-hmm. Right? This is his 5th season in the league, and he hasn't been told no to that. Like, he hasn't been told, no, you need to play within a system. At least not effectively. So that's a concern I would have with LaMelo Ball. And I think that's going to be something that's going to define his career as well. Aside from the fact that he only plays 40 games a year. But those injuries and his unwillingness to play as a team unit is just, I think, going to be what you live with if you trade for LaMelo. So I don't know.
I don't know who wants him.
No, I don't know if there's a trade
it's the same
for really
with Zion.
Yeah, same with Zion is
injury prone, bad defense, doesn't seem to care.
Yeah, Zion, to his credit, lost a ton of weight. It didn't fix his injury issues.
No.
So
I could see a team like the Brooklyn Nets still going after Zion.
Yeah.
I mean, they need a star. They haven't had one
since KD.
Yeah, I mean, Mikal Bridges almost looked like he was going to be a star there for a minute, but
5 picks, man.
Yeah. I don't think he was ever going to be. I thought for maybe one season I was like, oh, Bridges is a star.
Yeah, he looked like what was he like, putting up like 25, 5 and 5,
something
and
like that.
Led them to just a few games outside of the play-in, which in the East is an accomplishment because the East has a really strong middle of the pack
top
group.
Yeah.
They're not as top heavy as the West, but the middle of the pack is fantastic, and it has been for a while. But I don't know. I don't know if a Zion for LaMelo Ball trade would leave either team happy.
No, I think you'd have to combine them and hope it works. Otherwise, move on.
And even then, that's not gonna work.
No,
it'd
be fun. It'd be so fun.
It would
when they're healthy. LaMelo lobbing it to Zion would be, especially with the announcers for the Hornets. I mean, we're talking cinema. You could make a whole movie just off of that.
Yeah, but I think Charlotte would be better off trading LaMelo. Or even just letting him, or even just kind of letting him kind of fade into the background a little bit on their own team. Let him play for the 20 games he's going to play, and then try and build a team around Con Knippel, around Brandon Miller, those two guys. You've got a solid, Tajani Salon, who he's been rough his first 2 years, but he still has potential. I think he's got a really high ceiling, but it's gonna take some patience to get there. So whether or not you're willing to wait on that, or if they're just gonna move on and try and replace him right away, up to them. If they get Cam Boozer, obviously, here in this year's draft, go with him. But I think they'd be better off just moving on from LaMelo and building around the guys they have, the 2 wings they've got, and trying to find something that works with them. Find a Mike Conley if they can, and just try and find success there, and try and rebuild the culture around Con, because his leadership has been fantastic. That's been something that's completely blown me away with Charlotte, is Con Knippel's leadership. You've seen him challenging players to be better at post game interviews. That's something that I think the Hornets have literally never had. Since this current team came into existence, at least. But it's I think building around those two is the best path forward. But as far as the Pelicans go, They definitely need to move on from that Zion contract, but I don't know.
Should have done it years ago. Should have.
Yeah, you had your opportunity probably 2 years ago, and they didn't do it. And I think now that you move for Jordan Poole, you traded away your an unprotected first round pick this year. They traded away the Pacers pick.
Gosh.
They traded away the Pacers pick.
Yeah.
They made two massive gambles, and they made two big gambles, and both of them bit them in the butt as bad as they could.
The future isn't too bad for Pelicans. I don't want to get too negative on them. Derek Queen looks great. I like Jeremiah Fears.
Queen's going to be one of those guys where you're going to have to build a roster around him because his defense is abysmal at this point in his career, and that I don't see that getting a lot better because he's not big and strong enough to really be a Gobert defensively, and not that he's ever going to reach Gobert's level. Or Jakob Poeltl, he's not big enough to be a Jakob Poeltl defensively, but he's way too slow to make an impact on the perimeter either.
Yeah.
Like he's going to be a guy that you're going to have to find a dominant defensive big to put next to him. And that's going to be their big issue. And then filling out the roster from there. And then they've got Jeremiah Fears, who's been fantastic as well.
Yeah. So they have a core there. They have a future. I'm not sure where they go to get it. Jeremiah Fears is a great point guard. Obviously, point guards sometimes they either come out the gates really hot, look great, and then fizzle out, or they take a while to like kind of a slow burn. We'll kind of see what happens with Fears. I don't know. I think he's great. I love the fact his jersey number is 0 Fears. Big fan of him. I like Queen. I don't know what Zion is, and it's kind of the same thing as LaMelo. Trae Young and Ja are the same problem. I think we both mentioned the report where they have such negative trade value. You might just have to trade them for each other. For Trae, Ja, and LaMelo. The NBA is at such a weird point when it comes to these star trades. We saw Kevin Durant. He fetched a decent haul for the Suns, but it wasn't incredible.
No.
Luka even didn't get anything crazy for the Mavs. Granted, that was a complete mess. But then you look at these stars who don't have this Kevin Durant, Luka Doncic trade value. Like Trae Young, Ja Morant, LaMelo Ball, they're not guaranteed Hall of Famers like Luka and KD. So how are you going to get these guys that are like $40 million a year to a new team and get the fan base to be happy? Because you might be looking at a situation where you're trading Ja Morant and you just want him off the team. You're going to send him for what? 2 really large expiring contracts and like a first-round pick?
Yeah.
I mean, what, do you trade Ja Morant for Zach LaVine? Are you trading Ja Morant for DeMar DeRozan and like whatever? I don't know. Like I don't see a clean path for any of these players to get to new teams. And it does make me wonder what the next landscape for star contracts. They are all-star level. They don't always get on the team, right? Maybe we're looking at other players, especially these guards. It seems to be affecting guards a lot because guards, if you can't play defense, you're screwed at this point, especially these bigger. But there's other guys, right? Like you have like a Darius Garland, going back to my team again. Like they are all on these max contracts. But the CBA is so penalizing now. What do you do when they might have injury issues? They don't make the All-Star team every year. Their trade value is not going to get you 4 or 5 first-round picks. The Mikal Bridges trade is truly an anomaly because we're not even seeing stars go for that. So what does a team do with these kinds of players? And what does their next contract look like, assuming they can't get traded? Or even if they can, obviously you trade for Giannis, you're giving him a max deal if he wants it. You trade for Anthony Davis, you're probably willing to listen to the idea of a max deal or near max deal. I don't know if Trae Young, Ja, or LaMelo get anywhere near a star max deal anymore because they go into the free agency market. Who's giving them that deal? They might a guy like LaMelo might be lucky to get a Dyson Daniels kind of deal on his next contract. He might be looking at 25 to 30 million.
Yeah, versus the 45 million I think all three of them are making right now.
Absolutely,
that's massive step back from what they're making. I think ultimately what I think is going to happen is I think we're going to see one of them traded for another. I don't know which ones. I think Trae Young and Ja Morant are the most likely to swap spots.
I could see it
because I don't think LaMelo. I don't think the Hornets move LaMelo.
I
I
don't
could
think
see I could see Minnesota getting involved for one of them potentially because they desperately need a point guard, but they might just be better off sitting back, waiting, and seeing what's on the buyout.
I can't imagine Minnesota going for any of those
No.
three just because of the lack of defense and
Yeah.
the heliocentric nature of all three of them.
Yeah.
They all need it built around.
And it would also just kill what they've got as a team already because you would be required to include one of Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, or Naz Reid, and those four are key to what they're trying to do right now. So I think it would be. I think they're probably better off just sitting back and waiting for the buyout market, see who ends up on there, maybe trading for like a bench guy. Same thing with Orlando, where they also desperately need a point guard. They would have to trade everything that makes that their entire core of their team to make it work. Like
I guess Orlando has Jalen Suggs as a point guard, but it's just hard to see him being a championship point guard.
yeah,
I like Jalen Suggs, but he's what, $36 million a year?
they need somebody who can move the ball around. Is what they need. They need somebody who can pull up and just pass the ball.
I think
and
you're
control.
Sorry, go ahead.
And control the turnovers as well. Like be able to facilitate the offense, which as great as Jalen Suggs is, he's not that guy.
He's got some bad turnover ratios, assist to turnover ratios for a point guard. And your point's really well made there about these teams needing the facilitator. I think it's the same thing with Minnesota, right? When Mike Conley's not on that court, they look so much worse. But at the same time, Mike Conley's really getting up there in age.
Absolutely.
I don't know if he can be your championship point guard playing 30 minutes a night. You could keep him. If he's off the bench or even just a starter for 20 minutes a night, you might be in great shape.
Absolutely.
Really interesting to me to see that is what most teams need. My Cavaliers, if Garland's not out there, the offense sputters, right? That's how Indiana really took advantage. Look at a team like Miami. They would look a lot better with a true point guard. They're looking great now, especially as they're doing this new offense that, ironically enough, Miami's taking from Memphis, the same offense that got their last coach fired. But a lot of these teams, like the value of a true traditional Steve Nash-esque point guard is coming back. They have a lot of value. But at the same time, when you have these non-traditional, like hyper-scoring focused point guards, I know Trae Young leads the league in assists. He does it plenty often. But it feels more like the NBA 2K way of like leading in assists, where it's high usage, you pass it off when the assist is there. You are not just making the offense flow. The offense is flowing through you in a lot of directions and in a lot of valuable directions.
Yeah.
But you couldn't put Trae Young on like a peak Golden State Warriors 2015-2016 team, right? Like that wouldn't have worked. He wouldn't fit in that offense. And they really needed that ball to constantly keep moving. Trae Young doesn't do that. And it's very difficult when you have the Pacers. Their best star is Tyrese Halliburton. He's the engine of the team. He's also the one that gets the ball passing everywhere.
Yeah.
You have Oklahoma City Thunder. SGA, point guard, gets the ball moving everywhere. Also a great scorer. So your two teams that were just in the finals and both looked amazing while there, they are led by a tall point guard who gets the ball moving. Things that all three of these guys, not Ja, he's short, and I guess Trae Young too, sorry, more so just LaMelo, but they're all capable of being a great scorer and passer, but they aren't doing it. And then you look at a team like Minnesota, Anthony Edwards is their best scorer, but he's not a great passer. So you're kind of at this point where how do you merge your backcourt? You almost need your backcourt to like either merge into one pseudo version of SGA, or you need it to be SGA or Tyrese. And I don't know how the Timberwolves get that. I personally think the Timberwolves would love a guy like Garland. I know he's not a great defender, but when you talk about a guy who's not a negative in scoring, he's a great passer. And honestly, Garland does get underrated for his defense. I think that is the only like star level guard I could see for the Timberwolves making sense. I don't think the Cavaliers trade Garland to the Timberwolves, but it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, I could see them making a move for like Terrence Shannon Jr. for one of the point guards out in Utah.
I could see that
because they have three different point guards who all kind of need minutes and not the minutes to give out. And all three of them are guys who move the ball around exactly like what they need.
Is there a world where Drew Holiday can be the next Mike Conley of Minnesota? Talking about teams that have a lot of point guards, I mean, what is Portland doing? They have all these veterans. I like the Damian Lillard homecoming.
Yeah. The issue is like, or at least the issue I have with the roster construction is, come next season, Damian Lillard isn't the guy he thinks he is anymore. And because we saw this issue in Milwaukee where he stalled their offense.
Mm-hmm.
Because he thinks he's the second best point guard in the world behind Steph Curry still. And the issue is Steph Curry's not even the best point guard in the world anymore. He's not even top 4 in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You've got
wait, who are the 4 you have above Curry?
I
know SGA and Tyrese. Oh, and
Luka, SGA, Tyrese Halliburton, and I've got Cade Cunningham above Steph right now. Another big scorer, plays defense, moves the ball around, combo guard there. Leading Detroit to the 1 seed. His efficiency could be better, but I think that will improve as the season goes on because there are like 2 games in particular that bring all of his percentages down like 5 points.
Yeah. The Pistons need their second true ball handler.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like a Jaden Ivey. I mean like another ball moving point guard type next to him.
And they might have one, might not, in Ivy. I don't know if they want to wait on Ivy. I'm gonna finish my thought before I get to the Pistons.
Go ahead. We can jump over to some other teams after that.
But I do have something with the Pistons I do want to talk about here in a minute. But with Portland, like, you've got Damian Lillard who wants to be that guy still, but he hasn't been that guy in several years now. Probably since the first season or 2 after the bubble. It's been 3-4 years and an Achilles tear. And he's going to come back and he's going to want to be that guy again. But he's not. And we've seen that a couple times throughout the NBA. We're seeing that, I think, right now in the Clippers, where you've got 15 guys who are thinking who have that exact thought process, where they want to still be that big, impactful player, but they haven't been in several years.
That's what you're saying. Chris Paul to the Timberwolves. I see you. I see.
I could see that working, but I don't.
There's a buyout.
I don't think he's gonna play again. I think he's gonna call it a career and just be done.
But I'd love to see Chris Paul win a ring, man. I don't even like Chris Paul as a player. I get annoyed watching him play and his dirty shots.
I think he's happy with his career, and I don't think he's gonna sign anywhere else. He wanted to end it as a Clipper. I think he's gonna end it as a Clipper.
Yeah.
Even
like
if
you were saying with Portland, my bad. I got sidetracked
there, and I think the fit's gonna be awkward, and they're not really. I don't know if they're going to be comfortable fully giving the reins to the guys they should when everybody's healthy. Because you've got Shaden Sharp, Denny Avdia, Hansen. You've got all these great young players, Scoot Henderson. Like, you've got a really good young core, but are you willing to give them the ability to go out and play and be the guys and let Damian Lillard and Jeremy Grant be role players to them? That's the concern I'm having with them, and I don't know if that's overthinking it a little bit, because it's a talented team. They're underperforming a little bit now. I thought they'd be a little bit better than they are in the standings, but they've got some, in my opinion, very clearly an all-star in Denny Avdia. You've got two guys.
Kamara looks great too.
Yeah, I forgot about him, Toumani Kamara. You've got the building blocks of a really young core. You just need to find the guys to put around them. And that's what they're missing, is they're missing the complementary veterans. But instead of the complementary vets, we've got Damian Lillard, Jeremy Grant, which are 2 guys who, in the past, when they've played with young guys, have taken away from young players. So I think
in theory Drew Holiday makes sense for them. I don't think Jeremy Grant does.
No.
Jeremy Grant would be great on so many teams, but not right now. The contract is way too high.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Damian Lillard for that one. And then I think Portland made a mistake keeping Drew Holiday because they have no young guards. You have young Hansoon, in the front court. And I love Hansoon. I think he's going to be really good. I just finally learned how to say his name correctly like last week. I guess it's
This is my first time hearing his name out loud, actually, so I appreciate that.
No problem. It's an odd way to pronounce it from like our standpoint when you haven't heard it out loud. But yeah, Young Hansoon looks great. I like Donovan Clingan. But then they still have like Robert Williams. You know, like Robert Williams, always injured. You know, we talk about guys who never make it on the court. But having him there is about $13-14 million on your cap sheet that you just can't use. And even when everyone else is healthy, why do you want Williams playing? I mean, Hansoon is barely getting time in the NBA right now. He's not that good yet. He has a great potential, but they kind of have to force him to get out there. Like, just deal with being a bad team for a bit. Yeah. And see if you can trade Holiday.
Yeah, one or two more years of being bad.
Yeah. And if you can go send a Holiday to a team like the Timberwolves and get Rob Dillingham back in return, or maybe you're sending Holiday to, you know, Utah and getting a young point guard in return. If you can get young guard talent, because you already have your wings in Avdia and you have Kamara, you know, you have your bigs and Clingan.
Yeah, and you've got Shane Sharp and Scoot Henderson as well in that backcourt.
Yeah, you do. But neither of those guys are like that ball-moving point guard that so many teams need, right? You don't have your T.J. McConnell type of guards on that team right now. And that's kind of what the Trailblazers need. And I'm fine with Lillard coming back. It's a short contract. It's essentially just, hang out here for a little bit and then retire. That's kind of his contract. So it might hurt some parts of the offense. It's worth it to me. Just give a good send-off. He's not going to be in the league much longer. We don't even know when he's coming back. This injury could take a long time. So at least let him retire Trailblazer. But I just don't understand. The first time you got Drew Holiday on your team, Portland, you did the right thing. You shipped him off immediately. He doesn't make sense for your team. He doesn't want to be there. Get him somewhere else. Unfortunately, last time I went to the Celtics and ruined my Cavs season. But, like, it's fine. The Cavs weren't... Anybody in that second round would have beat the Cavs. They didn't feel like winning. Same with this year. But...
yeah, if they can manage to get like a Rob Dillingham return, I don't know how much Drew Holiday is making on his current contract.
You would have to do a lot more salary filler than Rob Dillingham. If the Timberwolves wanted to make it work, they'd either have to include like a Naz Reid or Randall,
which they're not going to do.
No.
They're not going to get their roster for Drew Holiday. But
2 years ago, it'd be worth it.
Yeah.
2 years ago, it'd be worth to trade Randall for Holiday. But I don't know.
Not at this point in time. I don't know what they're gonna do moving forward. They're in some weird spots. But shifting back to a point I was gonna make, I do think the Pistons are gonna make one move, and I think I don't think it's gonna be for a point guard, because I think they're happy with their guard rotation. I think what they do is they're gonna move for Trey Murphy III.
Yeah, they can. Yeah. I do have to say though, your guys' coach made one of the dumbest comments I've heard in a while, saying Isaiah Stewart is the greatest defensive center in the NBA. I don't know what Bickerstaff is on, especially after he just got done coaching Evan Mobley. Who, like, Stewart's great, but what you just got done coaching the Depoy, and there's Wembenyama, and also he's behind Durant. Are you saying he's a better defense? Whatever.
Yeah, but I think.
I see what you're saying.
Still a Wizards fan. I'm just very high on the Pistons at the moment.
You should be.
I think the thought process is the lowest rim percentage in the league given up by a player is Isaiah Stewart.
That's fair. Yeah.
I think that's mostly what he's looking at. I think he's also just trying to gas up his guys.
Oh, for sure. And that's a good thing. My only fear with the Pistons is we've seen so many teams. You know, I can use my Cavs 64 wins last season as an example. You're so good in the regular season. But, like, if we're really being honest, the Pistons do have problems that can show bad in the postseason. Murphy fixes a lot of them.
Yes. The big issue I've noticed with this team early on, and it's been apparent in literally every single loss they've had. I think all five of them, in every single game, Duncan Robinson doesn't shoot the ball well. So, and he's their only real volume shooter right now until Ivy's back to playing how he was, assuming Ivy gets back to playing how he was. So removing that volume shooting, it's like you're losing a lot there when he has an off game, and he's gonna have off games. That's just the nature of volume shooters.
Yeah.
So bringing in another volume shooter like Trey Murphy III, who can also put the ball on the ground, who can also pass the ball.
Freak
Freak
athlete,
athlete. All defensive caliber player. Like, you, if they're able to make a trade for him and they're not going to give up Ron Holland. Like, just gonna put that out there. Ron Holland, I think, is untouchable on this roster because he's their emotional leader in the behind the scenes. But like, and he's their spark guy. But if they're able to keep Jaden Ivey, which they might not, but if they're able to keep Ivey and get Trey Murphy III, that's a tough team. Like that, because their defense is already second in the league behind the historically dominant, outlierishly good OKC team, where they've got the greatest adjusted defensive rating ever by a mile.
I don't even know if it's worth it to trade for Trey Murphy when you have to get past the Thunder to finally win it. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's Trey Murphy would make them better on 3 different fronts because he'd come in and day one be probably the 4th best defender on the team, which, by the way, saying something about Pistons. But anyway, he would immediately fix that issue of they suck if Duncan Robinson can't hit threes, or they don't suck, but they aren't as good.
They're very vulnerable without it.
Yes. And and to their defense, 4 out of those 5 games they probably should have won because they're all 1 possession games. But it's one of those things where you get another ball handler, you get another shooter, you get another defender, you get another guy who can move the ball, you get that super ultra versatile wing that they just don't have at the moment.
I think Trey Murphy to Detroit immediately makes them the best team in the East, depending on what you give up.
Yeah.
I still have concerns that it would be their role players who are adding the shooting. I think the NBA or an NBA to be a true elite contender, you need the stars to be leading that 3-point shooting as well. At least one of them, right? Duran doesn't have to be a 3-point shooter. Cade Cunningham, I know, can shoot threes, but he's not a Curry. He's not SGA. He's not any of these elite 3-point shooters. He's got a good mid-range. Tobias Harris isn't a bad 3-point shooter, but I don't even know if he's really a star of the team. That's what concerns me is Trey Murphy could be a star, though. I think depending on how he plays, he could elevate himself, become at least a fringe all-star. He has the talent to be the 3rd best player on a championship team. So it's if you can keep Ivy, if you can keep Robinson. The other problem is, Bickerstaff is a great defensive coach. His offense with the Pistons has looked a lot better than his offense ever did with the Cavaliers. But we have seen in the playoffs he's a very stubborn offensive coach.
Yeah,
he's going to run the same play into the ground. And typically it is high pick and rolls. And you're going to then drive towards the hoop with both your big and your guard. And you're going to see, is a lob open or is a kick out open? If neither are open, dribble it in a big old loop, go back to the top of the arc, and rinse and repeat. That is the offense in the playoffs that I saw 2 years in a row with Bickerstaff. We haven't seen him in the playoffs since then. It could be a lot better. In fact, he's probably going to win Coach of the Year if they keep it up. And the Cavaliers didn't have the 3-point shooting the Pistons do, but their 3-point shooting still was existent in their best player with Mitchell. The Pistons don't have the 3-point shooting of Mitchell in Cunningham. And that's what concerns me is they have so much talent, but it's the NBA you need. You cannot be incredibly deficient at anything anymore. If you want to win a championship, all of your eggs have to be in order, right? Everything has to be right.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Murphy's enough of a fix to get them past the Thunder. I don't know if it's enough of a fix to win a full 7-game series up against the Knicks. I think they'd have the best chance. I think the Pistons today would win in 6 up against the Cavaliers. I think they'd lose in 6 or 7 to the Knicks. They'd whoop the Pacers because they're injured, but they'd whoop the Magic. They'd stand a really good chance against Miami. You never know with Miami. I mean, it's Miami. Even without Butler, you still have Spoelstra. So it's just a question. I think it's a matchup thing with the Pistons. But I think Murphy's a good pick. good pickup, but this offseason they'd have to do more. You couldn't end with Murphy. You'd have to do something. Maybe it's just Duran keeps growing, and he's probably winning Most Improved Player of the Year.
He's picked up that dribble pull-up mid-range shot, which, coming from somebody who, I've said this before, he's the closest thing physically to Shaq since Shaq, which
that is where we disagree, but...
and that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, that's okay, yeah. I'm not watching games as much as you.
Obviously, he's not Shaq, obviously. But, like, in terms of that size and strength, I don't think we've seen another player as close to Shaq as Duran is. And having the ability to pull up off a jumper and hit those floaters that he hits, that's insane. But is there any other trade you think is going to happen? Like I said, I think that Trey Murphy trade will happen. I think it's just going to be about assets.
I will end us off on my conspiracy theory, my Cavaliers conspiracy theory of the week. I always have at least one going around. That's just how I am. I write about the Cavaliers. Like, it's just kind of, I have to be overly dialed in on them versus the rest of the league. My question is, Jared Allen played through a broken finger. He played through it. Congrats to him. That's awesome. He really, in the year before he played through 82 games. Like, he's willing to play through injuries. He has a finger strain. I don't know what a finger strain is. I know what a finger sprain is. What's a finger strain? Okay, and he's been missing a lot of time because of it. My question is, the Cavaliers already took him out of their closing lineup. Kenny Atkinson has clearly lost faith in Jared Allen. He was averaging the least amount of minutes per fourth quarter per game of the team, other than Thomas Bryant. And now Thomas Bryant is getting minutes in the fourth quarter with Allen out. And the Cavaliers, they look rough. But Mobley, even though he's still struggling, looks pretty good with Hunter or Wade at the 4. Even Tyson at the 4. Is Jared Allen just sitting because the Cavaliers have a trade ready when the trade season opens up on December 15th?
They might. Issue would be, to me at least, what's a trade featuring Jared Allen that makes the Cavs happy?
I don't know. My question is, what do you need more? Do you need a three-point shooting big next to Mobley? Because he's looking fine with Bryant, who can sort of shoot the three, but it's not amazing. But then you look at something like a Larry Nance Jr. Nance hasn't looked good this year. I love Larry Nance Jr. I mean, I'm a huge fan of his. But he hasn't looked good. Naquan Tomlin, even when Nance is healthy, is taking Nance's minutes. And Tomlin is a G League guy. So do you really need a three-point shooter for Allen? Or do you need someone who kind of does what Tomlin does but better and does what Nance should have done, which is add energy, get offensive rebounds, pass the ball well as a big, maybe space the floor a little bit. I wrote an article about trading Max Strus for Brandon Clark, but is it ever Allen for Brandon Clark? Or do you look at Allen somehow in a 3-team deal getting over to the Kings? I talked about how a defensive center would look good next to Sabonis. I don't know. I just really am curious because Atkinson has not really shown any praise to Allen yet this year either. Mm-hmm. I mean, we are talking about a game where Allen was like the leading scorer. He led, Mitchell was out, Mobley was out. Like, it was the Allen show. After the game, Atkinson gave praise to one player, really gave them a big shout out for stepping up tonight. That was Craig Porter Jr., your third string undrafted point guard. Allen can't get any praise. Allen has lost his footing with the Cavs. The Cavs look sad. They need a trade. If they want any chance to beat the Knicks or the Pistons, you need something. I don't think you trade Garland. You really need him. You need someone who can create offense. Admittedly, if you came to me and said, hey, you want Garland, but what if we got you like a DeJounte Murray and Yves Missi kind of package, I don't think you should trade Garland. I think he's damn near untouchable. But if you could get me a big guard who could play defense and pass the ball well like Murray, and you got me a big like Missi, okay, now I'm interested. But I don't think that's going to happen, right? That's like the only trade that makes sense for Garland at all. But then Allen, he's making $20 million a year. You can get a good role player for that. You might even get a first-round pick because Allen's clearly more valuable than like a Brandon Clark. If Memphis gives you a first-round pick for Allen and then blows it up a few months later, in the offseason, if that pick's a 2027 pick, suddenly it might be a lottery pick. So there's a real path to where trading Allen makes you better, not because you get someone with more skill and talent than him, but because you get someone with more energy and more fit. So I don't know. But I do think Allen's time with the Cavaliers is coming up. It's a conspiracy theory. There's not a single shred of evidence other than me being Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny and putting a whole bunch of red string on a board. But that is my only trade I wanted to throw out there, is I think the Cavaliers are finally about to break up the core four. In the fourth season, it's still not working, and it looks worse than ever. I think they're doing it.
I think the Cavs are an extremely talented team, but they just don't have that on-court leader to go get to that's willing to run through a wall and fight a grizzly bear for a loose ball.
Well, Jalen Tyson is. Jalen Tyson's my GOAT. Jalen Tyson is my GOAT. But no, you're right.
Yeah, I think they need a guy that they can plug into those the 30 minutes that Jarrett Allen's taking up. I think they need a guy who can take up a majority of those minutes and play like that the entirety of that time. Think Draymond Green, think Isaiah Stewart, think Dylan Brooks. They need one of those guys.
That's why I look at a guy like a Brandon Clark. He's got injury history. I don't care. Everyone has injury history in the NBA. Find me any player, and you'd be like, oh, they're healthy. What, Jokic? That's it? So I don't care so much about that. I think Brandon Clark makes sense. Isaiah Stewart, if the Detroit Pistons weren't looking so good, I'd say him. Yeah, but they're not trading him for Allen.
Yeah, I think we pitched the idea like 2-3 years ago.
I think
about Jarrett Allen for Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah. And back then, it could have made sense. I don't think I was on board with it at the time because Stewart just was hated in the NBA. I'm like, I don't think the Cavaliers
want anything to do with him. Fresh after the LeBron fight.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't think the Cavaliers want anything to do with that. I mean, the Cavaliers would never go for Dylan Brooks either. Just Mitchell hates that guy, and I don't even think it is a competitiveness. I think it is genuinely Mitchell wants to fight him. And I don't think that would work. But a guy like a Brandon Clark, Obi Toppin, I think is another option. I would have said John Collins before this year, but he looks horrible. And he's not really a rough and tough energy guy, but he is very athletic and a good shooter. I don't know. You could convince me of some other trades for Allen. I don't even know if you need another front court player. The Cavaliers signed Tomlin to a standard contract and then moved Hunter back to the 4 in the starting lineup, and you had Tyson as the starting small forward. I think there's reality there, but maybe I'll go into that more as we get to the next episode, because that'll be at the start of trade season, and maybe our next episode happens after an Allen trade. I can come in and I can look like I'll have my hair all screwed up and I won't have slept yet. I would have said, I'm fighting the timeline. I'm fighting the very moment that this trade was first materialized, and I will expect an award because I called the Max Strus signing. Then I called the exact DeAndre Hunter trade outside of the pick swaps, and I called the exact Lonzo Ball trade. Don't talk to me about how bad Lonzo's been this season in terms of scoring. I know, but if I get another one right, and mind you, I didn't write an article on it, but my roommate will tell you I called the Donovan Mitchell trade outside of I said Okoro instead of Agbaji because we didn't have Agbaji yet. So if I can get 5 in a row of the Cavs moves right, I will be expecting a magic orb with the Cavs logo engraved into it. And a personal call from Kobe Altman saying, sorry, I've been plagiarizing your articles for my job. You've kept me employed. I'm rich. You're broke. So that will be what I'm expecting. But it's already been an hour and 10. we can wrap this up.
Yeah, I think we're just going to leave it off there. Thanks for tuning in to our first episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
See ya. Bye.